Hello, beautiful people. My name is Athol, talking about marriage, relationships, and getting what you want from them. And I'm going to talk about two linked concepts in this video. The first being the lead domino, and the second one being the tangled mess. So in terms of the lead domino, I just want you to think of, a chain of dominoes all lined up, and that very first one that you push and knock over, that then knocks over all the other dominoes, that's the lead domino. And in terms of the story that you're in, the story of your life, the lead domino is that first most original problem or issue or trial that you faced that was the first major stumbling block in your life that then goes on to have repercussion effects through your life. And that first problem causes some other problems, and then you have workarounds for those problems, and then they cause other problems, and so on and so on and so on. So it's that first most dramatic thing that's really happened to you or happened to your partner that is causing the majority of the problems in your life. Now, the tangled mess often occurs as this end result of this whole string of problems happening. And it tends to be a big tangled mess that you can't understand, you can't figure out, because you're not really aware of what that lead domino problem was. And this is especially true of when you're in a marriage, when you're in a significant relationship, because you know what your lead domino problem is probably, but you may not necessarily know what your partner's lead domino problem is, because often that is hidden just under layers of stuff. And they may not necessarily know exactly what it is either. So when you fast forward in your relationship and 5, 10, 15 years passes and you still have some of these original lead domino problems existing and you're having to do workarounds for them, and then you have to do workarounds for the workarounds, well, then you end up with your life being this big tangled mess. And it can be okay in many ways, but there's always this big problem lurking. And you may know what the elephant in the room is, or you may not. So often it's at the point, when people are in that, coming up to the end of the second act in the story of their relationship, where they are trying to get my help to figure out exactly what to do with their life. Why is their relationship as it is? Why can't their partner just do what they want? And it's my job to sift through all of this to try and hopefully find out what the lead domino is. For both people. So that's why when people do coaching calls with me or send me problems or whatever it is, I tend to ask an awful lot of questions, because I know I've just come in at the end of the second act in their story. They're going to tell me what happened in the last 3 minutes of the movie, but I need to know the whole plot of the movie up until this point, so we can start figuring out what the third act is going to look like. What's the moves we need to make? What do we need to do? So that's why I ask a boatload of questions. I ask questions about, not just what they've done in the last couple of weeks or months, but, tell me about the family history. Tell me about the personality types. Tell me about any big traumas that happened, or big fights that you had, or major relationship stresses that are happening from outside the relationship. Tell me about when the kids came, or was there pregnancy trauma? What kind of birth control are people on? There can be a whole array of questions I just need answers to, because I'm trying to pick my way through the tangled mess, looking for that lead domino. Now, the good news is, if you can find that lead domino problem and you can take some steps towards addressing it, sometimes people's lives just dramatically improve, not necessarily overnight, but within months or a year or two. Some really deep problems can suddenly all start slowly resolving, almost like this cascade of positive changes, because you fix that lead domino problem and you've had workarounds that you no longer need that were causing other problems. Well, then you don't need the workaround anymore, and sometimes some of these other problems start vanishing. And that's why I've seen people with relationship issues and personal issues, you get to the bottom of what some of these are and you start making progress, and then suddenly you see their health improving immensely. You see their business improving immensely because they no longer have to do this massive work around this time sink of wasted time and energy and effort around protecting this problem or whatever it is. So if you find that lead domino, the tangled mess starts untangling itself just so much easier. And if you can't find what it is, that tangled mess stays, just as intractable and as difficult to deal with as perhaps it always was and maybe always will be. And you can read books, and you can do counseling, and you can go on retreats, and you can take space, and you can have fights. But if you never really get to the bottom of what that lead domino problem is, you're going to have a really hard time of fixing your relationship and improving your life, especially if the lead domino you don't know about is hidden somewhere in your partner's life and you haven't quite found it or figured it out. And often the solution to the lead domino issue at its core, at the very core of it, is finding the correct way, the best way, and the way that your partner most needs to feel loved and supported and validated. Because often that lead domino is just some form of pain. And if you can soften that pain and they can feel safe and secure and truly loved, often that goes an awfully long way to fixing just a myriad of issues in your relationship. And I guess that's about it. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, share, and most importantly, please do subscribe on YouTube. And I will talk to you tomorrow.